Good morning, welcome to this weekly market update from MRC Markets. Today is the 14th of November 2013. What we'll do today is go through some technical analysis on Euro dollar, cable dollar, Swiss, Aussie dollar, Euro pound and gold. I think these are the interesting charts in play, and obviously they're pretty much the majors as well, so most of you out there will be wanting to know the updates on these charts instead of the sort of funky pairs. So what we'll do is go through technical analysis, look at the interesting setups that are in play, and the interesting levels, and hopefully this video will be of some use. For any new followers out there, we have 3 moving averages in each of these charts. The red one is a 50 simple moving average, the 100 is a 100 simple, and the gold is a 200 simple moving average. We're not making any trade calls recommendations in this video. Trade at your own risk. If you could please read our full disclaimer on our website, which is www.mrcmarkets.com. Okay, let's have a look at the euro dollar. So this is the weekly chart. It's always good to keep some perspective in mind when understanding some of the moves that are going on intraday. It's also good to pick a bias as well, in my opinion, if you're day trading. One fib retracement setup I've been looking at, which is good to keep in mind, is this one here. So this is from the highs of 2011 to the lows of 2012. Bam, you've got sellers coming in at the 61.8, and they're going to want to see these lows taken out and a grind all the way down to the 0% line, which is at one spot 20.44. So that's a key one to keep an eye on for. And you then have this smaller one here. Well, I mean, you have the big one here, which is sort of played out really. It's just from the lows 2012 to highs to the sort of the early 2013 high, 50% zone, 50%, 61.8% zone. Buyers came in and they took out that high. But for those of you who look at extensions on your fibs, so for example the 123.6% extension, and the longs will want to be looking to take that 123.6 out. So those two are still in play. And also the other thing, because I mean we'll scale down, we won't spend too much time on the longer term charts as is a weekly video, trying to focus on the shorter term time frames. But another thing we have on this weekly chart is this 200 week moving average. So euro is coming right into this level. Last week it spiked below, closed above, and you can see this week we've had some bullish momentum coming in for the first couple of days. I mean, what day is it today? It's Thursday, isn't it? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we've had buyers coming in. And another thing, which I mean, you can focus on the weekly chart, but it's probably easy to look at the daily actually. This is the really interesting move on the daily. This fib here. Well, I mean, first of all, we had this fib here, didn't we? So I'm just going to take off the extension, I don't want to confuse anyone. So we had this move here from lows to highs, bam, right into the 50%, pretty much to the tick there at 131, and we rotated higher, smashed through the highs. But then if you extend your fib up there, you can see we have, surprise surprise, again at the 50% to the tick at one spot 32.93s, and we're starting to grind higher. So that's why I look at fibs personally, because they really have been dictating the market of recent. 50% been very technical indeed. So yeah, you can see the last sort of few days, well, this week has just pretty much just been grinding higher off of this level. We've got a close above the 100 DMA, and it looks like it wants to come up and test this 50 day moving average as well. So for the sellers out there who are still bearish, for the daily chart, they'll most probably be looking at this fib here, from that high to the low there. The 50% comes in at one spot 35.63, and that also coincides with the 50-day moving average here. So that could be a nice confluence level if it comes back up there. And of course, you just got 135.50. You've of course got 135.50s as well. just below that. So that'd be a sort of a key option expiry level that a lot of people, I'm sure, will be looking at. If you flip it to the shorter term time frame, so the 4 hour, that fib is still up there, and that's still, I'd still keep that on there, to be honest with you. The 1 hour's been interesting. There's a lovely trendline support that's been playing out since the sort of, well, this has been since the 6th of November. I'm just thickening this line up so it's a bit clearer. Yeah, so a nice trendline support there. 1, 2, 3, 4 spikes and closes above. A very clear price action, and it looks like it's sort of grinding back lower. And there's been a little mini pop off the 200 SMA here from the 4 hour. It looks like it wants to come back down and test this trendline support as well. Yeah, this is the 1 hour. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the euros. You've got the weekly, the weekly moves, and the daily fibs we've spoken about. The 4 hour and the 1 hour. It's very similar charts. I mean, this 4 hour chart, I really would highly advise keeping that fib on there, because that'll be an interesting one. That's of course if it does reach, because at the minute it is looking a little bit heavy on this 1 hour. It's all about this trendline support really. If it holds, then I won't be surprised to see a rotation high to that 50%. And if it breaks down, breaks below, then I'll expect to see these lows at 1.3295s to get taken out. Right, let's have a look at cable. This is the weekly chart. Now we won't spend too much time on the weekly because it's a very long-term chart. We've spoken about this fib multiple times. It's technically in play to sort of a key double bottom there off this 61.8, and we're rotating higher. You can see, well, last week's weekly candle, a green body there. I mean, it has just been quite choppy in between this sort of how many pip range have we got here? I think we spoke about this in last week's video. So for 159s up to 162, so you talk about 300-400 pip range here on cable in terms of the weekly. If it does break down, then the fib that the long-term players will be looking at, I'm sure, will be that fib there. So from the lows of 2013 to the highs of 2013, the 50% comes in at 1.5536. But don't forget, we've got these key weekly moving averages here, which are starting to flatten out. And when they flatten out, they do tend to end up being stronger levels, in my opinion. And there's 3 of them there, all sort of quite close to each other as well. So if it does come down, there's some key supports there. But of course, we're still a long way away from that, well over 500 pips away from that. In terms of the daily, yeah, I mean, it's been making lower lows and it's been making lower highs, so maybe this is a bull flag. A lot of people will be saying it's a bull flag. Yeah, so it's just playing in this sort of triangular formation here, and it's just looking for a breakout. So in terms of this daily, it's hard to choose which way it's going to go. I mean, yesterday's daily candle was a very bullish daily candle indeed, although there was a bit of upper wick, and you got that 50 day moving average capping as well. So really tricky one to pick the bias on cable here. I haven't really been trading it because I think it's just been too choppy. I mean, there has been some decent short-term selling opportunities if you look at the much shorter time frames. But yeah, it has been. Even if you look at the 4 hour, it's still very choppy. But I mean, look, well, we're currently testing this trendline resistance, so the odds are that it will come back down. But it has to get below this 50 SMA as well. So that's the 4 hour. And the 1 hour, similar sort of thing, trendline resistance. So there's lots of spikes above this, closes below, and you see where it's just sold off. So in terms of, buying opportunities, a lot of people will be looking at this fib here. I would have thought if it does come down, which it looks like it wants to come down, a lot of people looking at buying opportunities at that sort of fib here. So if it comes back down 50%, or patient ones will be looking for a bounce off of this sort of trend line support here. We're making lower lows, but it is bouncing up. So yeah, cable's looking a bit heavy at the minute. Going into today, trendline resistance, so well, quite a few bounces off there. It looks like it wants to come back down, so that's my outlook for the sort of rest of the day. I mean, look at this previous 1 hour candle, which has just closed, a reversal candle. It looks like it wants to come back down, I would have thought. Dollar Swiss, it's the weekly. Last week's weekly candle on dollar Swiss, well, last 2 weeks actually have been quite bullish. We had a bullish engulfing candle there 2 weeks back, and then last week's weekly candle was also nice, just sort of a bullish continuation pattern, which is a standard bullish candle, a little bit of wick at this side, and it looks like it wants to come up and test this 50-week moving average. Which is currently standing at around 0.93 level. In terms of the daily, it's been an interesting chart. You can see it is making lower lows here. Fib players, we had this fib here we've spoken about previous video, right off the 50%, and we've sold off aggressively. And then if you extend your low there, and then bring it down to the next clear peak, you can see we've sold off at this 61.8% retracement, and we've closed below the 50% as well. The current daily candle is coming up a bit. It looks like it wants to come up and perhaps test this 50%, and then maybe sell off again. But you do have to keep in mind that last week's weekly candle is bullish. So I personally want to be favouring the longs on this. And you can see it's coming up off of the sort of the key level, the key line in the sand here. So let's change this to a different colour. The key line in the sand, which has been holding, is this sort of 91.30s. So you can see key resistance around here, which I'm hovering over the cursor, and now key resistance now turned into support, and it's rotating higher. Yesterday we got a daily candle. Sorry, this is a 4 hour. We've got previous 4 hour closed above the 50 SMA, and it looks like it's grinding higher. So that'll be an interesting one to see. Yes, I mean it looks like it's grinding higher, but keep in mind of this 50%, the 50% retrace here, or even if it comes up to 61.8, see what happens again there. But it is looking quite bullish, especially for today, and I would say the next couple of days. If we do come back down as well, then of course the key fib I'll be looking out for, this is the 4 hour chart, would be that one there, so the obvious one, which is the low of the 4 hour chart to those highs there at 0.9247. The 50s, you got some key moving averages here as well, and funny enough, the 100 SMA has crossed up above the 200 SMA, so a lot of people see it as a bullish signal. But anyway, yeah, the 50% zone comes at around the 0.9066s, but it is looking quite bullish. I wouldn't be surprised to see these highs get taken out this week on the dollar Swiss. Aussie's been a really interesting chart, and it's basically all about two fib setups from 2013. So we spoke about before. Let's flip it to a daily. Actually, it's clearer. Yeah, so here on the daily we have this pretty much the high 2013, this key swing high anyway, to the low 2013, bam, right after 50% retracement to where it sort of spiked it a bit, nice reversal candle as well, and we've sold hot and we've sold off. But if you look at the fib in the opposite direction, so from this key swing low here to the high of where we bounced down, and bam, surprise surprise, we're starting to get some support at the 50% retracement, and also the 100-day moving average as well. So a nice bit of confluence there, and that comes in at 0.93 handle, so bang on the 93 as well. We posted this up on the Twitter at MRC_markets, and yeah, it's a really interesting chart to focus on. Definitely keep an eye on this one, just to see what happens. Really, the weekly close will be interesting as well, because if it does close, I mean, just look at that, it does look very technical there. Also previous resistance around here to the left, and now trying out to support. But yeah, we've already had a spike below. If a weekly candle close above this 50%, then I think it's bullish, and buyers will be looking for these highs to get taken out on a run up to this 50-week moving average, but that is all I'm personally focused on the Aussie. Euro sterling. Let's have a flip to this euro sterling. Yeah, you can see we're getting a nice bounce to the 100-week moving average. I need to refresh these charts because for some reason it's only showing, it's not showing the full moving averages. But yeah, you can see key bounce here off the 100-week moving average, and it's trying to rotate higher, but it's been already chopping in between this 50 SMA as well. So that's the weekly bias. The daily's been quite interesting. There's some key fibs here on the daily that have been playing out. So this first one here, from highest lows bound, 50% rotated to the downside, and if you extend your low, then bring well, I mean, you can keep it from that one there, even from the top, coming down off the 50% and 61.8% range. It's come back down, tested these lows, closed above, so it's now trying to rotate higher. If you flip it to the 4 hour, you can see from this fib here, from that low to that high there, bound right off the 50%, a couple of spikes below, closed above, and it's trying to grind higher. But this 50 SMA on the 4 hour is slightly capping it and bringing it down. So very interesting charts here, very technical stuff. Even if you flip it onto the wire, you've got the 100 SMA as well, trying to support it, but it's sort of chopping around at the minute. You can see in between that 200 and 100 SMA on this 4 hour chart, so it's looking for some direction. Personal bias should probably be towards the upside because this fib is still technically in play, but of course you have this one here as well on the 4 hour, from highs to lows. Yeah, we spoke about this one already, didn't we? Or did we? I can't remember now. Yeah, so sellers coming in at this 50%, 61.8% zone as well. So similar to Aussie, really, we've got two fibs in place. So one from highs to lows, and one from lows to highs here, trying to support it. So a real tug of war going on in the euro sterling at the minute. Gold is still chopping around, really disappointing chart, I think. I mean, we've spoken about this fib, which was quite technical. You can see we had lovely, well, I'll just zoom in a bit actually. Yes, for some nice bounces here off the 50%, and then it came back down to 61.8, a little bounce there, and then it's just closed below, and it's all like this key support here at the 1265. So that's currently holding. Yesterday, very bullish daily candle there, closed above the 61.8, not a lot of upper wick either. It looks like it will want to rotate higher here up towards this 50-day moving average. Sellers on this daily chart, I'd have thought I've been looking at this fib here. Let's find out if let's talk about this one here. I think this was a nice technical one. Yeah, it's pretty much came off the 61.8 here and rotated towards the downside. But I'd use this low here if you're looking at shorter term swings. So this one here, we'll flip it to the 4 hour. So if you do get a bounce up, which it looks like it wants to do, I'd have thought, especially if you're looking at that daily chart, then this would be the fib here, and that the 50% comes out at 13.10s. So keep an eye out on that one, really. But yeah, no, I mean, it has just been shopping around. It's looking for some direction on this daily chart, but there's still some lovely short-term plays, key support levels here. I mean, lots of nice, lovely rotation now off the 1265s. And also, if you're a fan of the round numbers, and to be fair, gold does respect the round numbers very well, then of course you have 1300. So let's just change the colour of that. So 1300, and then I'd keep an eye on 1250 as well. So 1250, 1300, 1350 key levels here. If you look down here, a lovely bounce off of that 1250, rotated all the way up to the 1300, came back down, and also if you look to your left here, a lovely spike low off of this 1300 as well. So 1250, 1300, 1350, it is just chopping in between these ranges, to be fair. If you want to keep it nice and simple, that's one way of looking at it. as well, and then of course you can add some other sort of support lines there as well. So yeah, just play the levels, I'd say, on gold. That's the best way to look at it, because the fibs aren't really being that great, and in terms of data it's just looking for direction, so you might as well just play the range, I would have thought. Okay, then that's all for today. I hope you found this video useful. If there's any other charts that you want to have a look at next week, then feel free to comment under the YouTube video, or send us a tweet to our Twitter feed, which is at MRC_markets. Have a great rest of the week trading, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks for watching.